Good. All right, good stuff. Okay, members, you're very welcome to this meeting of from Noma District Council Regeneration and Community Committee on Tuesday, the 11th of February, 2025. We have at least 3 members joining us online. I see Councillor Gannon, Councillor Devine Gallagher, and Councillor Warrington. And I would just ask all councillors online just to abide by the protocol of making sure that your cameras are on during the course of the meeting. Okay. Just to begin with, can we please have any apologies that we have? See an indication from Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, Chairman, Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, Councillor Catherine Kelly, and Councillor Padraig Kelly. And I believe Councillor Green will be joining online as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Not seeing any further indications at this stage, so if you're aware of any that come up, just let me know. Okay, moving on then to sign the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 16th of January. I have already done that. And then item 3, which is declarations of interest.
Thanks, Chair. I would like to declare an interest in paper A.
Of course. Okay, and Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Declaration of interest in 4.1, the grant aid panel, 6.1, but I believe it refers to Peace Plus, and 7.2, event strategy working group. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell.
Chairman, declaration of interest just for 6.1 and 6.3, both related to Southwest College. I'll stay in the room, but I'll just not take part in decisions. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Barton.
6.1, declaration of interest, Peace Plus.
Okay, very much. And just for tidiness, I'll declare an interest also 6.1 as a Peace Plus member. Okay, I'm not seeing any declaration of interest from online. So if anything comes up during the meeting, just let us know. Okay. Moving on then to reports for decision, Regeneration Planning Director reports, 4.1 to consider the report of the grant aid panel. Kieran.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the grant aid panel report. The purpose of this report is to request that members approve the recommendations of the grant aid panel meeting held on the 30th of January. Inspector Capital Grant Aid 24-25, 25-26, attached at Appendix 1 and 2. And note the grant aid allocations up to a maximum of £500 in respect to the small grants and rolling grant aid programme for 24-25. A total of 62 applications were received within this funding stream for capital grant aid. The assessments were based on applications deemed eligible that proceeded to assessment. Applications were assessed by officers against the programme specific criteria and scored with initial recommendations compiled. A moderation meeting was held where recommendations were considered and approved, and recommendations then were presented to elected members at the grant aid panel for considerations, and then on to this committee then for recommendation and ratification thereafter. Members will note that attached at Appendix 1, 13 projects have been recommended for funding with an allocation of total value available budget of £200,000 grant aid. When we go to Appendix 1, the first series of projects are listed by DEA. So Enniskillen DEA, Enniskillen Gales GA received an allocation of 20,000. Erin East, Newton Butler Playgroup, an allocation of £5,701. Tempo Maguire's from Erin North, £20,000. Erin West, Belcoura Alleys, £20,000. Mid Tyrone, £20,000, Loch McCrory. And West Tyrone, Trillick True Blues and Drunquan Social Club. Table 6, OMA DA, there was no projects came forward or were successful out of that DEA. Once we completed the exercise on the highest scoring project from each DEA, then we went to the highest ranking projects to spend out the 200,000. So Agdrim C GAC scored 81 and received 20,000. Tattyray GA scored 81, received 20,000. Onkaloo Development Association received 8,944. Erical Kieran Gaelic Athletic Club, £20,000. Cancer Focus in Enniskillen, 15,538. Neve Podrick, O'Donnell on Gorchin, received £13,519, bringing the overall spend up to £200,000. I will go then to the recommendations to approve the recommendations brought forward by the Grant Aid panel meeting held on the 30th of January in respect of capital grant aid, and 2, to note the grant aid allocations up to maximum of £500 in respect of small grants enrolling grant aid programme. Again, those are Appendix 1 and 3, and as previously, grants up to £500 can be allocated by way of a senior officer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kieran. Now we're just going to go to Councillor Withers.
Margaret Carley, thank you, Chair, and thanks for that report as well, Kieran. So really grateful to see this type of money being given out to the local community organisations and the local sports clubs there. I think it's some of the projects are fantastic and will really improve the health and well-being, the likes of Tattyray and Erical Kieran there, where there's planned upgrades for the walkways and into the training pitches and that. So really helpful. I know there's great work going on there by the volunteers and the various clubs and organisations. So congratulations to them as well, and well done to them for putting on all their efforts with these applications, and obviously our own team involved in the supporting the applications and working with those to get them through. So well done, and happy to recommend the recommendations, Chair. Thank you.
Very much. I'm just going to go to Councillor McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very concerned about the Omagh Town DEA, and I don't think this is the first time that project applications from the Omagh Town DEA have been disallowed, and where the entire DEA has been left with no successful applications. So what does that tell us? I'd like a comment on that. Are the groups being supported? Now, I know we have an excellent community services team and an excellent community services officer in Omagh. We really do. First class, second to none. And but I'm just wondering, what does this say? What does this throw up? Where's the weakness? Where is the weakness in the system? Now, if I was to look at a particular application there that scored 54 points, I think, it's in an area of multiple deprivation. It's about disabled access, probably one of the few, if maybe even the only one project application that is tailored for disability access in a community hub that might see as many as 250,000 people over the gates and over the doors on an annual basis, at least 1,000 a week, 15,000 at big matches. And I just can't get my head around the fact that not for the first time, the Omagh DEA applications haven't been successful. None of them, not even the highest ranking application from the Omagh Town DEA. And obviously I want answers to the aspect of transparency for any unsuccessful applicant. What mechanism is there for challenge and for transparency? In the case of Omagh Town DEA, can this be reopened? Can it be reopened? Because no single application from the Omagh Town DEA has been successful, and it's really bad. It's not good at all. And then, can I ask questions then, if I was to go into mid-Tyrone as a DEA, how can it be explained that projects that achieved as many as 74 and 73 points have not received a recommendation for funding? So that's why we're here. We're here to ask these questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Kieran, you want to take that there?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is the second time this has happened, Chair, Councillor Michael Duff. And I suppose we continue to learn on this in terms of we put mitigating processes in place to try to address these issues. The two scenarios that we've undertaken is one, mandatory workshops to explain in exact detail what needs to be completed within applications. And two, then as you've indicated, that the good work of our community development officers, and particularly in OMA, that being considered, then as you see, and I highlighted there that there's 62 applications and 13 have come through. It's an extremely competitive process in terms of applications coming through. So I suppose we're mitigating it. We put in place those support mechanisms, and then it's down to the quality of the application against the criteria. And unfortunately, when you see the scores there, they fall well short of the threshold of 65. In terms of, and I'll get the questions in the wrong order here, Councillor Michael Duff. I suppose the challenge, and I'll come on to the mid-Tyrone allocation. The reality is, and again, I keep coming back to the 62. We had a funding budget of £200,000. And I suspect if you were to calculate right through the number of applications that we had, it probably goes well up into about £450,000, £460,000. So I think as a funder, and we're probably at this time only one of the significant funders in this field in terms of government departments and ourselves. So that's the challenge with that. And so we had a time frame and process. So that concluded that element of grant aid funding at this point. So not able to open again. But again, and I've talked to our director on this, that the next stage will be, as part of the process, we will talk to anybody that needs to talk to about their application, where it went wrong. And equally then they have the right to appeal, and we have a grant aid appeals panel sitting ready to go on that. So I've kind of mixed that about a wee bit, but in terms of the second part, those traditionally anything over 65, say under rural development, would be successful. The reality is we have an allocation of £200,000 and we can only go so far down that list.
Okay, briefly, Councillor McAuliffe.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I want to acknowledge, just on reading the whole paper, that there are other projects that had disability type funding applications. Just to acknowledge that. I'm shocked at the 54 score for Oma St Enda's, and I'm sure they'll want to take up your offer of chatting about it and possibly appealing as their business. And then Oma Community House, such a major facility as well. And it's just alarming to look at the mid-Tyrone list, that if you take the 74s and the 73s alone, you have Craigan Community Association, Carrickmore Handball Club, Loch McCurry Community Development Association, Drumduff Community Association, and then there are other worthwhile projects as well, of course, which score less, and they're at 74 and 73. So it's hard for people to understand. How, if you had 74 points, you wouldn't be allocated funding, but if you had mid-60s elsewhere, you are allocated funding. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
We'll go to Councillor Campbell.
You, Chair. I suppose the previous sort of dialogues helped me a wee bit as well in understanding. And I suppose there's a fine line, really. It's probably more of a comment now between being funded and not being funded. If we look at table 7 there, 2 applications, Drumrath, Sarsfields and Esgrammets, both on 65, so meeting the threshold, but insufficient budget. That just means that they weren't ranking. There was a 66 in there, Edram Quinn Social Club, another worthy applicant. So I suppose that's the fine line between being funded and not being funded. But both those clubs, Drumran, Eskra, and I'm sure Fitna Golf Club as well, and others there, they would probably value feedback, and I'm sure that they will get feedback on that, because some of these projects are sitting, you know, some of them may be sitting sort of shovel ready to go, and then others, you know, could maybe come in again next year. And it'd be nice to think that those that got so close would be well placed then to close that. I mean, it's 1% this time, but it might need to be 10% more next time, depending on the other applications, you know. But I think just to encourage, I know that happens, the feedback to the groups, and of course, they have the option to appeal, as you say, Kieran. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, thank you, councillor. Again, we acknowledge the amount of work people put into these applications, and to get over 65, I mean, it's a quality application. We certainly will be chatting to everybody, and again, I mean, we've been through this process before. Because of the limited amount of money, we will unfortunately have disappointed people. I mean, I see some projects that may not have hit 65, but previously were ineligible, so they've made progress. But you're quite right, Councillor Campbell, it becomes increasingly competitive, and people be increasingly better at writing applications. That's why we're very clear about equally the mandatory workshops and engagement with our community development officers, and some do not take up the second. But I think it's critical that they do. Just the other, I mean, this will stop this small capital grants this year, and our directors has a report on the strategic capital that will be coming up later on. So that will be there to replace this capital scheme.
Thank you, Chair.
And Councillor Barton.
Thank you. My question was in relation to something similar that the two previous councillors have spoken about, and that is feedback in relation to the unsuccessful applicants. You talked about the mandatory workshops, and I appreciate that and understand all's done to help those applicants. But I do think when the process is over, that really there needs to be individual feedback to the various groups in relation to where they have failed to reach perhaps the threshold. And also, that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I do think, yeah, it is a bit unfair, like what has already been stated in relation to the numbers. Somebody was 76 getting through, and then others was 66 getting through. I do think there will be questions asked in relation to that. But I understand it's different DEAs, but still. Thank you.
Through the chair, again, we fully appreciate that. And one of the key criteria set by members was that we would spatially spread the applications, and therefore our requirement was, in the first stage of this, was to allocate funding to each DEA. And then this is the situation that develops in stage 2. Then only the highest ranking projects come through the process.
Councillor McColgan.
You Chair, just to agree with what's been said before, and I just express disappointment that nothing in the OMA DEA being getting an award. I'm just wondering if there's something to safeguard in the future where we could be looking at the highest ranking and each of the DEAs at least getting something, because I can't imagine that there's any less capability in our team in the OMA, just our OMA DEA than anywhere else. And just the other one is, while it's been explained about the different DEAs and the award of money, I think there will be questions about the 76 and the 66 and the disparity, because it's the same as nobody in OMA reached the criteria, so they didn't get funded. But someone who reached a lower score is getting funded over groups that reached a higher score. So it leaves us open to question.
Okay.
Yeah, and through the chair, we've been through this with the strategic capital previous, where the criteria sets out, the spatial spread of grants across the 7 DEAs, or in this case the 6. And it is challenging explaining that to people in terms of this process. And again, even how we have presented the report. It's a stage one, seeing the DAs, and then stage two, seeing them. But it is challenging to explain because people are not seeing, you know, I mean, the quality applications and then scoring really well and yet not successful. And again, also mindful of, you know, we are the only funder that's operating at this time across government, etc. It's a very competitive field, and we have an allocation, a significant allocation of 200,000. But we could spend a lot more on this.
Okay, members, I'm not seeing any additional indications at this stage. I had a proposal from Councillor Withers for the recommendations. I'm not sure we had a seconder as of yet. Is anybody content to second? See Councillor McCardle. Okay. Not seeing any indications online. Okay, members, I think we've thrashed that out pretty well there. Are we content with the recommendations as they stand? I think that is agreed. Okay. Oh, okay, Councillor Withers.
Yeah, just one query there then, Chair. In terms of this talk of appealing, some may want to appeal the decision. So in terms of that, what ramification does that have, if any, in terms of or the awards that are made there now currently? Would that have any impact on the recommendations there tonight? Thank you.
Through the chair, we will hold until that process completes. There's a number of days now from the letters issued to the appeal and then the appeal panel meeting. But there will be a process there. We wouldn't be risking a situation where we've allocated and then somebody overturns that, then there will be a requirement then maybe to include that if they were successful. So there will be a delay until that process is completed.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Moving on then to item 4.2, which is to consider the report on the sub-regional economic plan, paper B. Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to provide members with an update on the sub-regional economic plan funding, and then also to seek approval for the terms of reference for the local economic partnership. So members will recall that we've previously updated in relation to the sub-regional plan in terms of its purpose and it having been launched back in October past. And just to note that it focuses on 3 strands of delivery. So the creation of new local economic partnerships, which is dealt with in this paper, and then enhancement of Invest NI at a regional level, and then realignment of departmental policies and programmes to drive local growth. So in terms of key issues, the Minister for Economy has now issued correspondence, which is attached at Appendix 1, setting out the funding formula and the funding allocation then for the Regional Balance Fund at 45 million across all 11 councils for 3 years. And prior to confirmation of the funding allocation, this council had engaged with departmental officials, and we had submitted, I think it's probably fair to say, a robust response in terms of the funding formula options that had been presented prior to the confirmation then of the formula that's now detailed. And one of the things that we had queried specifically was just around peripherality and how that was being applied in terms of the funding formula. The Minister now has decided on the funding formula to distribute to councils. And you'll note there then that it's broken down in terms of 30% is allocated equally to all councils. 30% is based on productivity performance measured by output per job, and then 40% is based on peripherality. So based on that funding formula then from ANOMA, local economic partnership will be allocated 1.5 million in year 1, and that totals 4.5 million in over the 3-year period. So members will recall then that a requirement of the sub-regional plan is the creation of the local economic partnerships, so the LEP. And you'll also recall that initially we had intended that the work of the LEP would propose really mainly be through the Community Planning Strategic Partnership Board. But following clarification from departmental officials, it's now proposed that the Fermanagh Omagh Labour Market Partnership will also contribute to this work. So the terms of reference are actually attached at Appendix 2. And members will note then within the terms of reference, particularly at point 4.1 within those that we're saying that the labour market partnership, which is ultimately a subgroup of our community planning partnership board, will ultimately fulfil the role then of the sub-regional LEP. And the terms of reference then, as I've said, it really sets out the structure of the LEP, the roles and responsibilities, what the membership will be, attendance, and then what we're proposing in terms of consultation and engagement arrangements. And also just worth noting, and we have set this out also within the terms of reference, that in the particular arrangement within the terms of reference, that the final decision making in relation to the LEP and any of the associated interventions then ultimately reside with the council. So in terms of next steps then in the process, ultimately what we need to do is we need to seek DFE approval on the terms of reference. And then in parallel with this, officers have already commenced work on preparing the sub-regional action plan. And that action plan will ultimately reflect priorities that we've already identified in a series of council documents that we have already consulted on and discussed, notably our community plan, our economic action plan, and our visitor experience development plan. And then to inform the work of the LEP and also obviously to progress the action plan, we will engage on an ongoing basis with relevant stakeholders from a variety of sectors that we've set out within the report. And then also to note, members, that the Council's Economic Development and Inward Investment Working Group will ultimately be the steering group of the LEP as we see it in the terms of reference that is attached. And also just to note then that it's envisaged that the draft LEP action plan would be presented to this committee hopefully in May then for consideration. So in terms of the recommendations then, it's recommended that the Council note the Fermanagh and Omagh LEP funding allocation as detailed in Appendix 1 and approves the local economic partnership terms of reference which are attached at Appendix 2.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sinead. I'm not seeing any indications online or in the, oh, let's see, Councillor McElduff. Oh, actually, I don't know, Councillor Thompson, beat you to it.
Thanks very much, Chair. Thank you to Director McAvoy. Just with regard to, so that means really then there's no, I suppose, democratic outlook on this, elected members. Is that correct? Am I reading this right?
So, thanks, Chair. So, Councillor Thompson, what we're essentially saying in the terms of reference is that the LEP will be fulfilled through the labour market partnership, but that's a subgroup of our community planning strategic partnership board. And then that the LMP will report through to the community planning strategic partnership board. So through that reporting structure, because it's a subgroup. So obviously then there's elected members within the SPB, and then final decision making ultimately then will reside with the council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor McElduff.
I'm glad that was clarified. It was a good question. I wanted to hear the answer to that myself. I think it takes somebody then to propose the adoption of this, isn't it? So I'm happy to propose the adoption of it. I do understand that time is of the essence, isn't that right, to comply with deadlines for this to be established. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor McLuff. Yes, there is certainly a time pressure to get the terms of reference agreed by the department. And in parallel with that, we'll be, because of the time pressure, we'll be working on developing the action plan.
Okay. I'm not seeing any indications online or the chamber. Can I get a seconder then for that recommendation? I see Councillor Thompson. Okay, we all agreed? Great. Okay, yeah. Moving on to item 4.3, which is to consider the report of the Director of Regeneration and Planning, paper C.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report then is to provide members with a number of updates. So the first one relates to our Northern Ireland Entrepreneur Support Service, so our Go Succeed programme. And then also there are updates in terms of our grant aid programme, our events, festivals and sponsorship, and then an update in relation to a report from our local government auditor. So looking firstly at Go Succeed. So just in terms of background then, members are reminded that through 2023, 24 and 24, 25, the 11 councils have successfully delivered the Go Succeed programme funded by UK Shared Prosperity Fund to the benefit of new and development businesses, and each council also makes its own separate contribution towards that particular programme, with this council's contribution being 165,000 for the 24-25, so the current year. Go Succeed, which has been underway since November 23, currently has funding in place from UK Shared Prosperity Fund and local councils until March so the end of this financial year. So Belfast City Council, who are essentially the council leading on behalf of all councils, they have established a programme management office which provides support in terms of delivering the programme, contract management, and then administering of the funding. So they are currently engaging with UK Shared Prosperity on behalf of all 11 councils, ultimately seeking a 12-month extension of the programme. And it's expected that those discussions will come to a conclusion by the end of March this year. In the interim, Belfast City Council PMO, I suppose, is at risk of losing key personnel due to the absence of committed funds, because we don't actually have a formal commitment at this point. So to mitigate this risk at this point, and then to ensure that any future extension can actually be delivered when we hope that the funding is actually confirmed, Belfast City Council has requested that each council commits to contributing funding towards their staff costs to support the programme delivery in 25-26. So whilst the funding may ultimately not be required for the staff costs if the UK Shared Prosperity Fund is secured, the request has come due to the need to provide clarity regarding future staffing provision. So also just to note then that the council's current financial commitment for this programme, as I've said, is 165,000 in the current financial year, and any future council contribution then towards that would be dependent on the level of funding that would be secured on the basis that UK Shared Prosperity confirmed that. So members are asked to approve a commitment to provide the funding, and just to note formally, members, that since the paper was drafted and following further engagement with Belfast City Council, we have a figure in the report of a commitment to 48,000, but Belfast City Council have actually confirmed that it's actually 42,000 per council. So if I could just note that, and I'll update that in the recommendation when I get to it as well. So that the ask then is members are asked to approve a commitment to provide 42,000 towards staff costs for the effective delivery of Go Succeed in 25-26, pending any additional SPF funding secured. And then in terms of the other updates within the report then, at 2.2, there's an update in terms of our grant aid programme for 25-26. So we've noted there that the first call for grant aid and bursaries will open on Wednesday the 12th of February and close on Wednesday the 12th of March. And we've set out then the grant aid streams that are scheduled to open at paragraph 2.2.1 and then at 2.2.2. And I suppose it's also just important to note at 2.2.3 that there will be information sessions, clinics will be held to provide guidance and support to applicants, and the details of those are set out within the paper. And those sessions will be facilitated by the DEA Community Support Officer and are also importantly being communicated and promoted out through our community newsletter, via our website and also our social media channels. And then an update in terms of events and festival sponsorship for 25-26. So it's proposed that the 25-26 events and festival sponsorship would open on also Wednesday, the 12th of February, and close on Wednesday, the 12th of March. And the sponsorship streams will support large and medium scale events, as well as small collaborative community events. And again, the information sessions for the grant aid bursaries will also cover, as the ones I've just noted above, will also cover the events and festival sponsorship programme. And then at paragraph 2.4, it's an update, members, in terms of our Northern Ireland Local Government Auditor Report. So the NIAO assess annually whether a council is likely to comply with the requirements of the Local Government Act in terms of securing continuous improvement in that year. And the auditor has the discretion to assess and report whether a council is likely to comply with those arrangements in future years. So we're happy to report that the local government auditor has certified the performance arrangements with an unqualified audit opinion without modification. And it also states that as a result, they believe that Fermanagh District Council has discharged its performance improvement and reporting duties, including its assessment of performance for 23-24 and 24-25. So in terms of the recommendations then, members, it's recommended that the council approve an in-principle contribution of up to 42,000. So just to note the change in that from the paper towards the extension of the Northern Ireland wide Enterprise Support Service Go Succeed programme. Notes the 25-26 first call for grant aid and bursaries will open on Wednesday the 12th of February and close on Wednesday the 12th of March. Notes that the 25-26 events and festival sponsorship will open on Wednesday the 12th of February and close on Wednesday the 12th of March. And notes the update on the Fermanagh OMA audit and assessment report in relation to performance improvement and reporting duties.
Okay, thank you very much. And not seeing any indications online or in the chamber. If members are happy enough, can I just get a proposer and seconder then for the recommendations? See Councillor Campbell proposing and Councillor Withers seconding, and we're all agreed. We're all agreed. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on then to Community and Wellbeing Directorate reports. We have 5.5, which is to consider the report of the Director of Community and Wellbeing, Paper D.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, there are 3 elements, 2 for decision. The first one is to seek approval for a letter of support from our members in relation to SEUPB application, which has been made on behalf of all councils by Armagh City, Bunbridge and Craigavon Borough Council. It is in relation to air quality, an air quality application to SEUPB. The project is to try and improve the monitoring of particular matter of to enhance the skills of the staff, to improve opportunities for community engagement, and maybe most importantly, or as important, is to improve our monitoring capability. There is no cost to the council in relation to it. Solus have given their approval for the project, and all councils have been asked to provide a letter of support for the project, but also to endorse ABC as the lead partner representing all local authorities in the project. The second element of the report is to seek approval for a process in order to enhance leisure facilities for people who are, and indeed families who go to Women's Aid for assistance. It's undoubted, the benefits of well-being of sport and recreation in people's mental health, and it is I suppose a proposal which has came to us from Women's Aid is if there is something we could do in our leisure centres to support those people who are going through a hard time. So we're proposing that if on basis of a referral from Women's Aid, that those people would receive 1 month's membership free at its leisure centres, and thereafter that there would be a concessionary rate applied, similar to that we have to other interventions such as PARS and Move More. We've been in conversation with women with Enniskillen Women's Aid and Oman Women's Aid, and they would be delighted with such a proposal. The third part of the report is for information members, and it's the RNC Committee Actions update for the last quarter, which is a quarterly report which is provided. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council approves the provision of a letter of support to SEUPB for the air quality bid, which has been undertaken by ABC Council on behalf of all councils, approves a referral scheme through Women's Aid for a trial 12-month period where participants receive 1 month's free membership at leisure facilities to encompass all leisure facilities, including the gym, pool and so on. And thereafter, if they wish to take part in leisure activities, to get a concessionary rate, and also notes the RNC overview of actions for the last quarter.
Okay, thank you very much, John. We're going to start with Councillor McElduff.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose the adoption of the recommendations. One catches my eye in particular, and that's the second part of the recommendation, that we would make concessionary rates available to those who use the Women's Aid services. I welcome this very, very much, and I did make quiet representations myself regarding this matter. And I think the council is doing very good work in relation to the whole strategy and ending violence against women and girls. And all of that work is very, very important, including administering funding in the immediate future that is available for groups who work in this area. But I think that's a very positive step to see that support being given to Women's Aid by this council in relation to access to our leisure centres. And it'll be very much appreciated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Campbell.
Mr. Chairman, and in the same vein as Councillor McAuliffe, I want to fully support that recommendation, in particular the referral scheme for the 1 month's free leisure and concessionary rate. I suppose a good example of how we can sort of support the community and support Women's Aid in this instance, and it'll be much appreciated, I'm sure, and can be trying to bring people across the door of the leisure centre as well, maybe people that hadn't been previously. So that's very worthwhile initiative, and commend the officers. And I know Women's Aid brought forward this proposal, and I want to fully support it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you're happy to second?
Excellent. Yeah, happy to hear it.
Councillor Barton.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, also, I would like to support this initiative brought through Women's Aid, but I'm asking, what about Men's Aid? What about, is there any support for the men that are undergoing perhaps issues also?
We have no formal arrangement for men. I don't know if there is an organisation that could provide us with referrals in relation to men's, but it's something I'll take a look at. You raise an interesting point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Barton. I'm not seeing any indications online. We have a proposal and a seconder for those recommendations, and I think we're all agreed. Agreed. And I have to say, I mean, I think that that's an example of a very strong partnership between our council and an organisation that does absolutely fantastic work throughout the district. So it's good to see that. Okay, moving on then to item 5.2, which is to consider a report on the Coca Lakelands UNESCO Global Geopark, paper E.
Thank you, Chair. There's one element for approval here, and the other items are for noting. The first one is to request approval for an officer to attend the annual UK National Geoparks Committee meeting. Approval is sought because it is outside of the region and travel is required. Officers are, in order to keep our geopark status, are required to attend a number of committee meetings, both at national level and international level throughout the year. And this is the UK national meeting on the 5th and the 6th of June. So we're looking for approval for one member of staff to attend. The other elements of the report is to provide an update in relation to the workings and what is going on in relation to the geopark. The minutes of the committee meeting of the 11th of December are provided in appendices 1 and the manager's update in appendix 2 for members' consideration. You will see, especially in appendix 2, the depth of the work that is going on in the geopark, both from a sustainability, from a tourism, from a business point of view. And you will note that nearly all of the development plan actions are actually in green. So there is a lot of work that is going on. We're probably ahead of ourselves in the geopark in relation to achievement of those objectives for the period of the development plan, and we're looking at that to see if it can, if it can even be extended even more. But I have to say, the level of support at a community level, the level of support at a business level for the geopark is absolutely excellent, and that's obvious from the development plan, from looking at the development plan actions that have taken place. You will note there that there is an update in relation to the Shared Island Fund and the Interreg Periphery and Arctic funding application, the Regeneration project. The Shared Island Fund is a cross-border project exchange for tourism and community tourism networks that can develop and to develop a best practice model for business and community engagement to work alongside tourism initiatives. And Ballyhura Development Group have been obtained funding of almost 32,000 from the Civic Shared Island unit in order to undertake that work. And the Kilkee Lakelands partnership is very much part of that. The Interreg Northern Periphery Regeneration project is to the value, and this was reported previously, the Kilkee Lakelands to the value of 124,000 to implement and support associated work plans across 3 years. The in-kind support will be in terms of staff time. So again, a very good project that should lead to further regeneration of the geopark. The final part of the report is in relation to a youth ranger program, youth ranger scheme through funding from Action Renewables, and it is a proposal that has been submitted through the Landscapes NI Forum and the development manager, and we are one of a number of partners in relation to that. So again, something to get the youth involved in the full aspect of our geopark. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council approves for the geopark officer attendance at the UNESCO Global Geoparks meeting in Scotland in June. Notes the minutes of the Geopark Committee meeting of the 11th of December. Notes the update in relation to the Shared Island Fund and the Northern Periphery Fund, and also notes the expression of interest in relation for our Youth Ranger programme through the Landscapes NI Forum. Sure.
Thank you very much, John. We're just going to go to Councillor McCardle.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd be happy enough to propose that we send an officer over to that meeting, and I'd like to just propose the adoption of the meeting minutes. So a very well worded report, and it's good to see the Kilkee project going from strength to strength, because I'm a neighbour of it. I'm not too far away from it, so it's good to see that going on leaps and bounds. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Not seeing any indications online nor in the chamber. Can I get a seconder for that? I see Councillor McColgan seconding. Okay. Are we all agreed? Great, thank you. Okay. Moving on then to item 5.3, which is to consider the minutes of the Health and Social Care Services Subcommittee meeting held on the 27th November 2024. And yeah,
Chair, they are for noting many of the issues which are included in the minutes have been discussed in the chamber on many occasions, and the various interactions that we have with the Western Health and Social Care Trust. So the minutes are for noting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can I just get Michael Duff?
Yeah, Chair, thank you. Chair, I'd like to propose the adoption of the minutes. Also to ask a question. If one was not a member of the subcommittee, but had a particular interest in an upcoming topic, does one have the right to attend as an observer or seek speaking rights or anything like that in relation to this subgroup? I'm particularly thinking of the business case for the OMA mental health unit, the acute mental health unit, something of very strong interest in. And if it's going to be teased out there initially, I would express an interest in attending if the protocol allows it. May or may not, I'm not sure. Thank you.
Chair, my understanding of the subcommittee is that members have been proposed to sit on the committee. There are no formal mechanisms by which any other member has speaking rights at that. I'm sure a member could come to it as an observer, certainly, but for speaking rights, no, I don't think so. But there are, and I know that there are members who feel in exactly the same manner as you do in relation to the mental health unit in OMA. So I'm sure there would be many members who would take those issues on board.
Councillor Warrington.
Yeah, just want to second the noting of that report, and I suppose a suggestion to Councillor Michael Duff, if he wanted, obviously he could issue questions via his party members on that committee on the day if he wanted to do that.
Okay. Right, that's proposed and seconded. I'm not seeing any further indications, so consider that noted. Grant. Okay. Moving on then to reports for information. 6.1, what's the note, the update report on investment and funded programs, paper G, Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report then is to provide members with an update on progress in relation to a number of investment funded programs. So our Rural Economic Accelerator Programme, known as REAP, our Peace Plus, and then our DAERA Rural Business Development Grant Scheme. So the paper sets out with some background at 2.1 in terms of REAP, and obviously noting that the council work with the lead partner Southwest College in delivery of the programme. And just noting there, the programme is funded through UK Shared Prosperity Fund and has an operating period from the 1st of April 2023 until the end of this financial year. And then it follows on just providing some background in terms of what the purpose of the programme is. This was a couple of key points to note in terms of the programme and key targets for it. They include participant numbers, skills, development figures, qualifications achieved, and then the numbers that are moving into employment. So implementation of the REAP programme was impacted by a delay in receipt of the contracts, so the memorandum of understanding. There was a delay in receiving that. So I suppose that has resulted in a lag time in terms of recruitment of the team and activity. But I think it's fair to say that we're still expecting that the recruitment target will come within a 20% tolerance, and that our target numbers in terms of progressing into employment will be met or surpassed. And the table then that is provided within the report reflects that, and reflects that, you can see that we're certainly on a really positive trajectory in terms of those different aspects of the programme. Also worth noting, members, that the college as the lead partner has recently engaged in discussions with representatives of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund in relation to an interim bridging programme that would operate from the start of this financial year, so the 1st of April 25 through to the end of March 26. And whilst there's no guarantee of that application resulting ultimately in success, the college has been informed that if it were successful, that the maximum budget that will be available to the consortium then for the 25-26 year would be 749,000, which represents a reduction of 45% from where we were previously. So a significant reduction if that does end up being successful. So I suppose it's just important then to note that as a result of that revised funding, we would then have to review our delivery structure to reflect that funding model. But to note then that we will provide members with an update as we get more information in terms of that application process. In relation to Peace Plus then, to note that the council received a letter of offer from SEUPB on the 16th of December. And that letter of offer, really positive, significant funding from there, and was awarded under Theme 1 in terms of investment area 1.1 co-designed local Peace Plus action plans. So within the report then, members, you'll note at section 2.2.2 that we have included then a table setting out the various themes. And then I suppose within that then the breakdown in terms of the actions and setting out, I suppose, those key actions and key dates in terms of, for example, tenders when they're opening and closing, and different actions within that. And then following on then at section 2.3 is in relation to DAERA Rural Business Development Grant Scheme, and to note that the council received letter of engagement on the 17th of October from DAERA advising of the opening of the Rural Business Development Grant Scheme 24-25 with effect from the 16th of October. And to note then that the TRIPC grant scheme really aims to support the sustainability growth of rural micro businesses across the region by providing small capital grants for the businesses. So in the context of Fermanagh Oma, Fermanagh Oma received 188 applications, And of that 188, 162 applications progressed to assessment. 17 didn't meet the scoring threshold of 65%, and 145 met the scoring threshold. And then all of the 145 applicants that met the scoring threshold then were issued with letters of offer on the 10th of January, just passed. And the total grant value of the letters of offer issued were just over 502,000, with the estimated total project value of just over 1 million. And to note then that the projects are due to complete by the 14th of March of this year, and council officers are currently working with those businesses supporting the claims process, which are due to be submitted by the 31st of March 2025. So in terms of recommendations then, it's recommended the council note the update on progress in relation to the REAP programme, notes the update on progress in relation to the Peace Plus programmes, and notes the update on progress in relation to the DAERA Tripsy Rural Business Development Grant Scheme.
Okay, thank you very much, Sinead. And not seeing any indications in the chamber or online. Councillor McElduff.
I'd like to thank our director for outlining all of that and to keep the thing moving. And it's good and sensible, that recommendation. 3 parts. I'd like to propose it, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I see Councillor Buchanan.
Happy to second the recommendation as well, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And if we're all content, we're all content. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on then to item 6.2, which is to note the report on the corporate plan 2024 to 28.
Thank you, Chair. So this is probably a familiar report for members insofar as this is a report that we bring in terms of update in relation to our corporate plan on a biannual 6-monthly basis. So as members will recall, we agreed a new corporate plan in July 2024. And the reporting then that we've attached here then really relates to that first 6 months, April to September 2024. And provides really a summary of the progress achieved over that period. As we know, we have 4 key priorities within the corporate plan, and then that's broken down into 13 core objectives and 40 measures, which are measured over the 4-year period. So Appendix 1 then that's attached to this report really sets out what we've referred to as an impact report for that 6-month period. We've set it out in a slightly different layout on this occasion, and hopefully it's understandable, and it really, I suppose, sets out what the key summary of achievements have been against each of those core objectives over the period. It was important to note that progress has been assessed as demonstrating good progress, are on target for delivery within the timeframe, costs, deliverables for all 13 core objectives and 43 of the 44 actions. One of the actions within the corporate plan in that first reporting period was identified as having some issues that may impact delivery, and that really related ultimately to the labour market partnership and the progress initially being delayed in terms of receiving a letter of offer. However, that has subsequently received, and action is progressing well on that. And then just to note that the full suite of performance measures then will be reported on an annual basis. So it's recommended that the council note the corporate plan impact report April 24 to September 24.
Okay, thank you very much for that. See Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to Director McAvoy for the report. Happy to propose the recommendation as listed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thompson. And I'm not seeing any indications online or in the chamber at this point. So if we're all happy enough, can I get a seconder for that? See Councillor Barton. We're all agreed. Agreed. Stuff. Moving on then to item 6.3, which is to note the report on school leavers qualification and qualification equivalence paper I. Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So just in terms of some background, at the Rural Affairs Subcommittee meeting in October, a verbal update was provided regarding skills, qualifications and the destination of school leavers in Fermanagh District. And the discussion really highlighted some concerns around education qualification equivalence between A-levels and the Republic of Ireland Leaving Certs. So it was agreed that an analysis of qualifications and a qualification equivalence between both then would be undertaken and presented to a future committee. So the purpose of the report then is really to provide members with an overview of enrolment and participation trends among students who are domiciled within Fermanagh District. And then the detailed analysis then is attached at Appendix 1. So what the Appendix 1 really sets out is those who are engaged in higher education, further education and agricultural college. And then it pays particular attention to the trends in terms of undergraduate enrolments across Northern Ireland, GB and Republic of Ireland. And then it also considers that particular query around the entry requirements between both jurisdictions in terms of higher education. So a couple of, I suppose, key issues just for noting. School leavers, as we know, with several pathways available to them, but we'll note there at 2.1 of the report that the data for 22-23 shows that in Fermanagh school leaver pathways were 46% to higher education, 33% to further education, 8% to employment, 11% to training, and then 2% to unemployment or unknown. At paragraph 2.2 then, just also to note that school leavers from Fermanagh District Council tend to have favourable outcomes in comparison to their peers from other parts of Northern Ireland. For those who flow, I suppose, into higher education, approximately 75% of students enrolled in Northern Ireland-based institutions, with 20% then enrolling in GB-based institutions and then 5% within Republic of Ireland institutions. And those figures are based on trends between 2017-18 and 22-23. So over quite a, I suppose, a considerable period of time. And then to note that in 22-23, 6,625 students were studying further education, with 95% of those studying at South West College. And just to note that our figure shows that there's been a decrease in the number of students studying in further education, which really mirrors a Northern Ireland-wide trend. And then also to note that the College for Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise, CAFRE, they've seen a growth in enrolments from Fermanagh area, with 294 students domiciled from the district studying at CAFRE, and also almost 3 in 4 of those students are studying at the Greenmount campus. And then finally, in terms of the cover report, just I suppose then to take members just to section 5.3 of Appendix 1, and that essentially sets out then the detail of that comparison between the analysis of school leavers qualifications and qualification equivalents. So it compares between the conversion between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and looks specifically then within the report of what that would actually look like if you were wanting to apply for a medical course. So in terms of the recommendations of the report then, it's recommended that the Council notes the analysis of school leavers qualifications and qualification equivalents as attached at Appendix 1.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sinead. A lot of interesting information in that report, actually. I mean, plenty to think over. And I'm going to go to Councillor McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. It's a very, very interesting topic, and it's very relevant as well. I think there's been some progress in removing barriers to students in this region from accessing universities, for example, in Galway or Dublin. But there needed to be that progress because the percentage figures were much too low. And some years ago, I facilitated a local initiative whereby Martin McAleese, who was the president of DCU, came to this area and met with careers teachers. And that was to hear their take on the barriers with regard to the CAO system. And I think DCU might have been one of the first universities to relax the rules, to change the qualification requirements. So I'd be very interested on a case-by-case basis on the third level institutions, throughout Ireland as to what the state of play is in 2025. Now, I know there's a body called Universities Ireland. The Centre for Cross-Border Studies might even provide the secretariat to it. So I think, and I'd propose that we write to Universities Ireland and to the Centre for Cross-Border Studies and also the NSMC, who we recently met, to see what progress has been made in recent years in relation to removing barriers for undergraduates who wish to take up places in universities and third level settings in the island of Ireland. And I noticed recently that the Department for Economy looked at the whole student loan system again, fresh look. I noticed there was a London factor built into the funding formula because it's expected that if you go to university in London, that you might incur higher rental costs, that type of thing. One of the obvious questions is there a Dublin factor going to be written into a funding formula? Because anybody going to UCD or Trinity or DCU or any other institution in the greater Dublin area will face very high rental costs. It'll be prohibitive. So again, a letter to the Department for Economy asking if in the funding formula for students, there might be a cost of living factor for students taking up places in the Dublin area, just like there is for the London area. Thank you, Chair. That would be my proposal.
Okay. Thank you very much. And go to Councillor Barton.
Thank you. And it's just to make a few comments on the report. Very, very interesting. As an ex-teacher, I find this very, very interesting to read through and look at. Well, and one thing I did notice on page 6 of that, of the school leavers destination, I noticed if you look at the statistics from 2012 on to 2022, you can see a gradual increase in the number of students that are availing of training. And I presume that's training that they're not going to university and they're being trained now in many of the professions instead of going to university. And I think that's a good idea. That's very forward thinking because it leaves them without the debt that many perhaps will have round their necks for a number of years. So I was very impressed by that. Just I am a little concerned, in relation to the higher education, the numbers that are going down, the numbers seem to be not as high as they were. There seems to be a reduction in numbers going to the higher education, but I think that's throughout Northern Ireland, and that might be something to do with the population as a whole, rather than just from Anna Oma. Am I right in that trend?
Councillor Barton, just I was looking at page 8 of the report in particular.
I have 6 there, yeah.
So the regional comparisons in terms of higher education, and then we have the from Anoma higher education enrollments. Is it page 10 in terms of higher education enrollments?
No, it was like going back to page 6 actually. I was looking at there.
Okay.
It was just, you can see there's quite a drop there in the number going into higher education from 2020.
And I would need to come back specifically just
Yeah.
on if we have any data behind that, and I'm happy to do that.
That's great. Thank you.
Councillor Withers.
Yep, thank you, Chair, and thanks for the report as well. It's very interesting information and statistics in there. Just want to second Councillor McElduff's proposals. I think it's important that anything that anywhere there's barriers in terms of freedom of movement, in terms of people working or studying, all those types of things, we should be trying to break that down and see greater harmonisation. Obviously, that was a clear benefit of the European Union when we were members of it, and certainly across this island, we'd want to see those barriers removed. So I even know in my own time from back in the day of CAO applications and how difficult it was and making those. And I had hoped that things would have improved from today, but it seems there still clearly is barriers there to those seeking higher and further education in the 2 jurisdictions here. So just want to second Councillor McElduff's proposals. Thank you, Chair.
And Councillor McElduff, you're content to propose the noting of this, and Councillor Weber seconding? Oh, yeah.
It's me playing for another minute of speaking time with that delay. Yes, happy to propose accordingly. And just to mention, that in our council area, we have a brilliant facility ourselves in Caffrey, and how it attracts students from a wide area who live in the area. It's like a university in our midst, as well. Thank you.
I think it's actually quite interesting that given the substantial challenges that agriculture is going through at the minute, that actually within Fermanagh and Omagh, we see an increasing number of people actually choosing to make that kind of their study and their kind of way of life. So that's enormously encouraging. And I suppose just the one thing that I would sort of just draw out as something that I suppose we kind of need to keep an eye on. It's not particularly surprising, but it's that reinforcement that the data makes, which is that in terms of access to higher education, there's still a vast deficit between those accessing it who do not have free school meal entitlements and those who do. So it's not the most surprising point of data, but it is something that, you know, really ought to be focused in minds. So I'm not seeing any further indications. So we've got proposer and seconder for noting, as well as a proposer and seconder for Councillor McElduff's proposals. Are we content with all of those? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, okay, moving on then to Community and Wellbeing Director reports. 7.1 is to note the report on the Environmental Health Delegated Decision Record, Q3. And
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, standard report on a quarterly basis of the delegated decisions which are made by Environmental Health, just for noting, Chair.
Yeah, can I get a proposer? Oh, there we go, Councillor Thompson.
And thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director Boyle. Happy to propose a recommendation. Thank you
Very much, Councillor Thompson. Can I get a seconder for that? Oh, Councillor McCardle. I think we're agreed with that. Thank you. Okay. Moving on then to 7.2, which is to note the report on events and festivals, paper K.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, the Events and Strategy Working Group met on the 16th of January, and the minutes of that meeting is attached at Appendix 1. Just a couple of things to highlight. Sponsored events. We sponsored the All Ireland cross country event in Irvinstown on the 17th of November. We provided funding of 7,250 towards the event. And you'll see there at 2.2.1 the estimated impact of that event on the local economy, which is estimated brought in over 266,000 for that weekend. It was a huge success in relation to people coming from all over Ireland, staying in Irvinstown, in Enniskillen. There wasn't a free bed in the local area during that weekend. So the impact that it had, both for accommodation, for food providers, and so on in our local shops, was absolutely massive. And just for such a small investment from this council for such an event, I suppose those are the sorts of things I suppose that we need to be looking at in the future about how we invest in events that will bring people here. And I have no doubt that the long-term impact of that, you know, is yet to be felt as people come to our district, see what we've got available, and come back and want to visit here in the future. Is also there's also a long-term impact on it. The report as a whole is very positive in relation to our Christmas lights switch on events, our music program over Christmas, the plans for St. Patrick's Day events both in Enniskillen and Omagh, and it has already has been approved at this committee for the opening up of the events and festival sponsorship program on the 12th of February. In order to, and I think there has been an increase in members' recognition of the importance of events in our district and what we have to offer. So in order to help that and to support the development, there are training opportunities from our events team in relation to capacity building for organisations who wish to do it, you know, accredited marshalling courses and so on that are available, and those are being promoted. We also have an events resource hub on our council website, which provides a central platform for the first time for all third-party organisers to access resources in relation to events. So I suppose there is an increased emphasis that we are placing on events and the importance of events in our district. In relation to promoting events, so for website, there's data there in cross-border collaboration and the communication of the events that take place both from ourselves and those events that we sponsored. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council notes the minutes of the event strategy working group held on the 16th of January.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Not seeing any indications online or in the chamber, so if we're content, can I get a vote? Okay, Councillor McElduff.
Chair, just acknowledge that as another very substantive report, and the team does great work. You know, if you attend any of the events, meetings, there's a huge amount of work goes into this, and kind of the parameters are set for an individual year. In respect of some of the events in Oma, there has been a recent benefit from housing associations, as is outlined there in 222. They were very helpful, for example, in the Teddy Bears picnic at the Grange Park, you know, helping it to get to the next level of participation and numbers and fun. And again, the Christmas light switch on as well. So those are helpful if you can get partners on board as well. And there's some kind of, maybe, I say parameters, there seems to be a framework or parameters set for the year, and that has to be followed. And new events maybe have a job of work to do to get onto that calendar, because there's a lead-in time and all that. But very substantive area of work and a good team. Thank you, Chair.
Happy to propose that. Yeah. Okay. And if there's nobody else looking to come in, can I get a seconder then, just to note those minutes? Councillor McCardle, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, members. Agreed. Okay. Now, item 7.3, which is to note the report on landlord registration scheme, paper L.
Thank you, Chair. For information purposes, just with an update on the transfer of the landlord registration scheme from the Department for Communities. The scheme is currently managed by the landlord registrar, which sits on the Department for Communities. In 2023, SOLAS considered a report from DFC, which outlined the benefits of transferring those functions from DFC to the councils, more joined up work with the private sector at a local level, more link up with enforcement activity, consistency in the management of the private rented scheme, and indeed new generation for councils. And it was agreed at that stage that Lisburn and Castlereagh City Council would act as lead in the preparation for and the transfer of all the functions under the scheme. And that is that exercise has been completed. It was conducted in 2024, and a new website and registration portal is due to go live or due to be in March of this year. And for the new date, a new system to be in place by the 3rd of March, with all functionality completed by June. There are details there about the appointment of a new landlord registration team, the communications plan in relation to the transfer of functions, and indeed the governance structures in relation to it. There normally, or sometimes when we see transfer of functions, there is a cost associated with that, and I know members are very rightly so, are very keen to ensure that any extra cost that is provided or is incurred by councils, that we get budget for that. In this case, there is no implication, no financial implication of that transfer to the council. All of the funding for that transfer has been funded from DFC. So therefore, Chair, it's recommended that the Council notes the report on the transfer of the landlord registration scheme from the Department of Communities to councils. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Just going to go to Councillor Barton here.
Just one question. It says registration fee for landlord £70 due for renewal every 3 years. Currently generates such and such. Whereabouts are we in that renewal scheme, or is each landlord individual when they renew
each landlord is individual as to when they.
So you'll have an annual income,
Absolutely.
not just one income every 3 years, but an annual income.
But that is held centrally. That part of that 900,000 doesn't effectively come to the council as it has worked at the moment, because it is a central scheme undertaken by the Department for Communities. But there is an undertaking that monies is used to improve the private rented experience, so to improve the private rental sector, and the conditions in which they live.
So, yeah, they say that that's for improving the private rental sector, but in what way? For example, will some of it come to the council? None of it will come to the council, are you saying then?
There will be elements for the work that the council do with regard to enforcement and things like that. And it is really to new rules and regulations with regard to the private rental scheme, to the running of this central unit by Lisburn and Castlereagh City Council. All of those sorts of costs will come out of that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any further indications. Councillor Barton, are you happy to propose noting that? Yeah. And Councillor Thompson's happy to second. And we're all agreed then, just noting that. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on then to correspondence, the first of which is correspondence dated the 17th of January 2025 from Cavan County Council regarding the Traveller Accommodation Programme 25 to 29.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, again, for noting, this is a consultation that was previously provided to Council and which Council provided a response on. So the programme has been formally adopted by Cavan County Council in December of 2024, and the programme is included as an appendix for the 2025 to 29 programme.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Campbell.
Propose a note to carry.
Very much. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Buchanan. Content? We're all content. Thank you very much. Moving on then to note the following items of correspondence regarding the Workhouse Memorial in Omagh. There's two pieces here.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, two pieces of correspondence. I know this is an issue that Councillor McElduff has a real interest in, and here he is. Correspondence from the Department of Health and the Western Health and Social Care Trust in relation to the proposed Workhouse Memorial. You will see from the correspondence that the department and the trust are in communication in relation to finalising that the lease of land. And you'll see from the trust correspondence that they are working closely with the Department of Health to complete this process as quickly as possible, and will ensure us when this is complete.
Okay, good enough. And Councillor McElduff.
Allow me in first, because I know everybody has an interest in this. We all saw the brilliant job that was done in Enniskillen with the transformation of the old workhouse, and retaining its character as well, elements of its heritage retained. So in Omagh, there's a project. It's a very small project. It's a workhouse memorial. And if you look at the partners who are involved, the council, Omagh Heritage Forum, and we benefit from the knowledge of people like Kenneth Collins, who has done great work on the history of the site, and those who passed through it, and the Housing Associations Advisory Group, and the Western Trust, and the Department of Health. So the pieces of the jigsaw are really in place now to move forward, I would suspect, because Neil Guckian has written from the Trust, and the Minister, Mike Nesbitt, has written from the Department, and Mike Nesbitt's letter is more hopeful again, because it specifies that hopefully matters will be concluded in the coming weeks. I derived great hope from that because we want to see this realised in 2025. We don't want this to go on forever. There's a determination and a mood and funding support ready to go to realise this. And we'll want to consult the Oma Heritage Forum and others on the memorial itself. But it's good to see that a really crucial part of the jigsaw, well, this bit had to be unlocked, and that is a land lease between the department and the trust, because we do know that the trust are willing to help us on this. So I'm very pleased, Chair, to propose to note these letters, to thank everybody for their support in this project.
Thank you very much, Councillor McElduff. And Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I'm happy to second the noting of the two pieces of correspondence. And I suppose it's been a wee bit awaited, but it's good to have the Western Health and Social Care Trust letter and from the Minister, the Department of Health, confirming what they've confirmed in these letters. And I'm happy to second the noting. Councillor McAduff refers to the workhouse at Enniskillen and what we have there. Yes, a brilliant establishment. That's what we have in Enniskillen. If we have something similar in Roma, why not? And I look forward to progressing. Thank you, Chair.
Happy to second.
So happy to second, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Oma has a fabulous, rich tapestry of history, and it's good to see that there's such goodwill for this element of our heritage to be supported. So, okay, if there's no further speakers on that item, then I think we're all content. Okay. Right. Going on then to item 8.3, which is to note correspondence dated the 28th of January 2025 from DAERA regarding the withdrawal of DAERA inland fisheries support for the Fermanagh Fishing Classic.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I suppose in relation to this correspondence, it has been superseded by a number of meetings that we met with, as indicated by the Minister. We met on the 28th of January with elected members and officers. We have had a further meeting, officers of DAERA and or Inland Fisheries and ourselves, and we are expecting in the next number of weeks a letter from the Minister or from his officials to say that their support for the Fishing Classic will continue. So we wait for that, but say good engagement with Inland Fisheries in relation to this issue.
That's positive. Okay, Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair. Well, we're happy to note on that positive note, and hopefully this fund will be continued for the fishing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan. And do I have a seconder then for just noting? And I see Councillor Campbell. Okay, thank you very much. It's noted. Then 8.4 to note correspondence dated the 30th of January 2025 from Agenda NI.
Thank you, Chair. So this is correspondence from Agenda NI. It's setting out the detail of the forthcoming Northern Ireland Housing Conference. It attaches the detail of the conference itself. In terms of the programme, there's quite a number of interesting speakers there, and there's also an interesting makeup in terms of panel discussion. So you'll note from the correspondence in terms of the date, the actual conference is 26th of March. It's in the Europa Hotel in Belfast. There's details there then provided in terms of how to go about to register for the conference.
Okay, and if there's any interest, I mean, presumably you can go back to your party groupings and let Democratic Services know if you wish to nominate anybody to attend. But just on that, I'm not seeing any indications. Can I get a proposer and seconder then? Oh. Let's see.
We did propose there, Chair.
Oh, hand it off, Councillor Campbell. Yeah. She might not work. I know this one. Yeah. Okay, grand. And Councillor McAuliffe, you're happy to second? Yeah. Grand. Okay. Right. Moving on then to 8.5, which is to note the correspondence dated the 6th of February 2025 from Department of Education regarding SEN reform agenda and delivery plan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, the Minister published the SEN reform agenda and delivery plan at the start of February here. And I suppose just one of the lines from the review team is for members if they would wish to meet with the review team in relation to it. I suppose we all know that the special educational needs is a big issue in our schools, increasingly so. And it might, if members wish to have an informal meeting with the review team about what it actually means for us as a district here.
Okay. Yeah. See, Councillor Thompson.
Excuse me, Chair. Thank you for that, and thanks to Director Boyle. I think it would do no harm to have an actual informal meeting, so I'm happy to propose a formal meeting under the direction of Lindsay Farrell, the Deputy Secretary. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, Chair, certainly. It's certainly positive if the minister is willing to meet, and I would support that as well. So if a date could be arranged, thanks, Chair.
Okay, so yeah, so we'll just take this one, just noting proposed and seconded, as well as we'll seek that engagement. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Right. So we're now in other correspondence. First of which is from the Department for Infrastructure regarding traffic calming proposals for Clough Road, Lisbon.
Thank you, Chair. So this is correspondence from DFI. It's regarding traffic calming proposals for Clough Road, Lisbon. Members will note that the correspondence says that following a number of representations regarding vehicle speeds on the road in the vicinity of the primary school, the department has carried out traffic calming assessment and proposed introducing 4 traffic calming measures at that location during this financial year. So they have attached then to the correspondence a press release, an associated map, which indicate the location of those proposed features. It marks it out on the map, and then note that that will be advertised in the local press. And they also note then that the purpose of the letter is ready to bring the proposals to our attention. Obviously, as council, obviously likely to be impacted. So it's really just for noting, members.
Okay. Not seeing any indications online or in the chamber. If we're content, can I just get a proposer and seconder then to note? I see Councillor Buchanan. I see Councillor Campbell. Thank you very much. Very much. Okay. Move on then to correspondence dated 7th February 2025 from the United Nations Associated Northern Ireland regarding the 80th anniversary.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. Correspondence regarding the 80th anniversary from the United Nations Association, inviting all councils to mark the 80th anniversary by lighting up their buildings on UN Day, which is sometime away, Friday the 24th of October. And if members or the council wish to mark it in any other way, to inform them, and they'll raise awareness through their local and social media. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, and Councillor Withers is indicating.
Yeah, I'm happy to propose that, Chair. And obviously the United Nations and what they stand for is very worthwhile, I suppose, in terms of peace and democracy, and standing against imperialism and colonialism and various things like that from its foundations after the Second World War. I suppose just disappointing we haven't seen the type of progress which would bring an end to those things as much as we would like, but certainly worthwhile institution that is endeavouring to carry out them values, despite some problems with its in terms of veto powers and the likes of the United States and that, so there is issues there, but would see no issue in proposing that, Chair. Thank you.
Are you also proposing the lighting up the civic buildings as well on UN Day? Yeah, okay. Do we have a seconder then? See, Councillor McArdle. Agreed. One. Then, yeah. And now we're just to note correspondence dated the 7th of February 2025 from the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology regarding the AI Opportunities Action Plan. Sinead.
Thank you, Chair. So this is correspondence from Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. It's in relation to AI opportunities, and they have advised within the correspondence that they're launching a call for expressions of interest. And then they've also gone on to say working closely with those to bring, I suppose, the greatest benefits to communities and strengthen the UK's position as a global leader. I've gone into the actual expression of interest itself just to get us some more detail beyond what's included in the letter. So it actually explains that the UK government is accelerating efforts to build the infrastructure needed to support AI growth. They've noted that AI growth zones will unlock investment in AI-enabled data centres and support infrastructure by improving access to power and providing planning support. They also note that it'll help drive innovation, create high-skilled jobs and strengthen the UK's position as an AI leader. They've gone on to then explain that to support the development of AI growth zones, they're inviting expressions of interest from regional and local authorities, and that includes those within Northern Ireland and also from industry. And they've explained that this will help us understand early opportunities and inform the next stage of the programme. And importantly, they've also clarified that the expression of interest is not part of the formal AI growth zone selection process, which is still planned to open in spring 2025. However, they've said it will help inform site selection, policy development, and ensuring that they're able to move quickly to secure investment and growth. So it's for Noton members.
Okay, so Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I suppose we can't not be interested in AI. It's going to be a hot topic for the future and is at the minute. And I suppose we can't not be positive in terms of trying to improve the skills base of our district, you know. So I would propose we note and sort of keep a watch on developments, and if there is any way we can supporting I suppose the development of AI. I'm careful that the college will have a role in that too, but I'll leave it at that, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And do we have a seconder then, just for the noting? Councillor Buchanan. Okay, content? Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Could I just take an opportunity just to update members as well, although it's not on as correspondence, just to note that we have been in contact with the Minister for the Economy's private office in relation to our tourism conference, and their private office has confirmed that the Minister will be available to attend our tourism conference on the 22nd of February. So just to note that that's a really positive development in that regard.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. And I know there was a letter probably come out from Democratic Services with regard to the tourism conference. I have not put my name forward as yet. Can that be done this evening?
Yep, sure. If we want to, if we have any names being put forward, I'm happy not to take them.
Well,
Yep.
can I nominate myself? Maybe my colleague have proposed me.
Have you proposed, Mark? Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
That's it. Okay, and Barry? Yeah.
Others would like to propose me or not here.
Reason of good
I'm
will
interested
still.
in going there, definitely.
Okay, so Earl, Barry, and Councillor Buchanan.
Councillor Barton would be interested as well, so happy to propose that as well. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Barton. Okay, yeah. And seconded by Councillor Thompson. Yeah. Okay, that's all for now. Yeah, likewise, if there's any changes or additions, just contact Democratic Services. Okay. Members, I wasn't contacted about any other business that I am aware of. Fingers crossed. So we're going to move on to confidential matters and matters exempt from publication. So can I just get a proposer to go into private business? Say Councillor Thompson and Councillor Barton. So just going to Right. See, back on. Yeah. Okay. We can just get a summary of what we just did there.
Thank you, Chair. So while in confidential business, the committee considered a report on strategic capital grants programme and approved the recommendations of the report.
Okay, can I get a proposer and seconder for that, just? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Buchanan. Okay, folks, that's the end of tonight's business. Can I thank you all for your participation and safe home.